Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:07, and we've got a busy 2 hours ahead of us here on O'Connor and Company. Coming up in 30 minutes, Jaime Brennan, head of Moms for Liberty in Frederick County. 8:05, KT McFarland. And then at 8:35, Joe Concha. Also, we've got Mercedes Schlapp, who's bringing the Miami Sound Machine vibes here to our morning extravaganza.
No, I love the Miami Sound Machine. That's
Come
what I
on,
grew up
shake your body, baby. Do that conga. It's different when I say it, isn't
Larry, things are hurting.
Those are the lyrics.
The getting old, the knees hurt, the hips hurt.
I think Gloria
It
Estefan
happens.
might have a few years on you, and she's still
Oh, my
doing
goodness,
it.
yeah.
Let's go.
And a
Get
lot
up there.
more
Let's see
facelifts than I would ever do. So there you go.
You don't know that for sure, allegedly.
Oh, my gosh. Come on.
All right. That's probably fair. All right. Yesterday, Stephanie Ruhle, the MSNBC journalist that was hand-selected by Kamala Harris's campaign to conduct the first exclusive one-on-one interview. She commented before the interview aired with Nicole Wallace on MSNBC about the nature of some of the questions that Ms. Ruhle asked. And, well, this tells you everything.
Talk about that answer. I do, but here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from? To expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do. And she says, we just have to do it.
Yeah, she doesn't answer the question. She says, we'll just have to do it. And that sort of tells you everything you need to know. That's the hand-selected interviewer who was really, sort of giving her a full body massage more than an interview, basically saying, yeah, she didn't answer one of my only tough questions that I gave her.
Well, and CNN, Abby Phillips also mentioned that a couple weeks ago, basically saying, there's no specific plans. So when she talks about these plans, quote unquote, meaning, okay, we're going to raise corporate taxes. I really feel every time I listen to Kamala talk about the economy, she really has no idea what she's talking about. It is so above her. Anything with economic plans or how are we going to fund, these programs or that program. I mean, she ended up talking about price controls on the food industry, which we know are these socialist type of policies. And then she got criticized for it. But to me, it's just purely insane. Like that. Well, how can the American people trust her, handing them over to her the economy and having her deal with the economy, which we know that for 3.5 years, she and Joe Biden, they've been in charge.
Well, the last question of the interview, Stephanie Ruhle said, can we trust you? Kamala said yes. And Stephanie Ruhle says, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That's all we needed here.
That's all we needed. Thank you so much.
This is another
Love
part
your
where
hair.
they're analyzing one of Kamala Harris's convoluted answers on tariffs. And here's how Stephanie Ruhle, again, we're focusing on the interviewer first here, just so you know, that this is the hand-selected person who is supposed to, give this easy softball interview to Kamala Harris.
Work, and one could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a clear, direct answer. That's okay, because we are not talking about clear or direct issues.
It's okay that she didn't give us a direct answer. It's no problem. Okay, so now let's get into the meat of this right here. This is my favorite part. You remember Pee Wee Herman's secret word? Whenever you had the secret word, you had to scream. This is cut 32, just to remind you.
Pee Wee. Morning, Conky. What's today's secret word? Today's secret word is.
Today's secret word is Kamala.
Holistically.
Holistically.
This is the secret word of the day. Kamala Harris, during her briefing, one of her little Gen Z speechwriters said, you know what, you should use the word holistically. So here's cut 34, Kamala being asked a question about the economy. Listen.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing. And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing for working people.
Let's do this one more time. Imagine that Kamala goes out there before the interview and she makes a side bet with Doug and said, hey, I bet if give me $100 every time I use the word holistically in this interview. And Doug's like, okay, here, cut 35. Let's listen.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars, and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
That's some good stuff right there.
So, I was looking at the synonym for holistically type of thing. And, it's universal. Like the whole idea of with everything dealing with the Democrats and socialism is everything is universal. Yeah. It's universal health care. So it's another word for holistically. The other thing that kept coming to me, being a suburban mom, was like Whole Foods. I was like, the people who go shop at Whole Foods, it's like they're going there and they're like, wait a second, why does the organic baby food cost like twice as much as what it used
because
to
they
cost?
take a holistic approach to making that
holistic
baby food.
approach.
Yeah.
That is right.
No, absolutely. This is one of those market-tested words that suburban moms think it makes you sound really smart and granola-y. But then when you get into the crux of it, let's get back to this question of raising prices. Stephanie Ruhle did ask, I got to give her credit, one good question. Although, if you listen, this is how they always ask Kamala Harris questions. They embed the answer into the question.
Right.
So they give her a multiple choice, right? So Stephanie, Kamala Harris says she's going to spend money on, she's going to give people all this money for a down payment for their home. And they're going to expand this kind of money and that kind of money and small businesses and all this money that people are going to get. And she's going to pay for it all by raising corporate taxes. So cut 37. Here's the big question. How in the hell are you going to raise corporate taxes if you don't have Congress on board with this? Go.
If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share, and it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
So, in other words, what if you can't get this done? Well, we're just going to get it done, which is not an answer. It's not an answer at all. We're going to get it done by using the same left-wing Bernie Sanders divisive class warfare rhetoric that's been used by the Democrats for the last, 30 years in political dialogue, and it doesn't get done. Barack Obama couldn't even get this done at the level that she wants to do it when he had a supermajority in the Senate, when he had 60 votes in the Senate. Yeah. It's not going to happen, and she didn't answer the question, and it was a mess.
They
and there's
can't
more.
do it. They can't do it. And when you're talking about the fact that Kamala wants a higher business tax rate than even communist China, come on. This is where we are right now.
All right, more of this absolute Hindenburg meets the Titanic interview last night on MSNBC, probably the last one Kamala Harris will give before the election. We've got more in a moment, but first...
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Kamala Harris last night on MSNBC with Stephanie Ruhle. It was mainly focused on the economy, which tells you that they recognize that they are incredibly vulnerable on the economy right now, which is true. Trump is trouncing her on that issue. And so she had to concede. Gone is the happy talk that we have the strongest economy in the world. Gone is the happy talk that Bidenomics is working. Gone is the happy talk that that there is no such thing as inflation, or if there was momentarily temporary inflation, it's now going down, which it's not. It's just increasing at a smaller rate. So Kamala Harris had to concede that the economy blows right now. Cut 36, take a listen.
And I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So part of my vision for the economy is let's deal with some of the everyday challenges that people face and address them with common sense solutions, such as affordable housing.
So a couple things here.
Common sense solutions.
Of course, common sense solution, opportunity economy, that's my vision. But here's the problem. First of all, she's right that the American dream is elusive to too many Americans, that the middle class is squeezed, but they've had the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. Barack Obama and Joe Biden, other than the 4 years of Donald Trump, they've been able to do whatever they want. And the only time we saw an actual economic surge was during the first 3.5 years of Donald Trump's 4 years, number one. Number two, she's vice president right now. If she walked into Joe Biden's office and said, Joe, we need an opportunity economy, and we need to do all of these things right now because the middle class is getting crushed. Is Joe Biden preventing her from doing that? Is that what she's claiming? That Joe Biden is the impediment?
Joe Biden is like hanging out with the ladies from The View and then goes to his beach house. I mean, come on. He's not even running this country. Let's be real.
Good
point. Look, here's the reality.
No, wait. Let me hold on. And then I'll let you see, because earlier in the day when she made that case, Joe Biden literally said this to those ladies on The View.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
So he just admitted that he delegated stuff to her. So if there's a problem right now with the economy, she's to blame.
If there's a problem with the economy, if there's a problem with the border, if there's a problem with what's happening from a foreign policy standpoint where we can't seem to get peace anywhere in the globe, it is all falling in the hands of Kamala Harris. And yet you see her, how she's distancing herself from Bidenomics. She's basically reminding us every second of the day that she's part of the middle class. She's completely unrelatable. And guess what? Her policies don't work. They haven't worked for 3.5 years. They're not going to work if she were to become president. There's no question that the American people are just not buying it. The question will be, will her coalition come together in the nick of time, and will they be more organized than the Republicans to get her to the finish line? And those are really the two questions we have right now.
I think her coalition per se is going to come together. The question is, that's not enough to win the election. She needs to get those voters who voted for Trump and then decided for whatever reason in 2020 to give Biden a try. And now they're back in Trump's camp in these border states. The coalition isn't enough in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And that's why she's doing this interview. This interview is to reach out to those Teamsters that she just lost the endorsement to the blue-collar manufacturing workers that are sick and tired of what she's done. That's why she's lying about her position on fracking, her position on other basic economic issues, trying to walk back her radical positions. But she's not able to do it because she's trying to distance herself from this very economy. Listen, we're going to get to more. There's more in this interview yesterday, and there's more of what she had to say before an economic group in Pittsburgh yesterday. More lies about her political positions and her economic policies, but at least she's finally actually saying something that we can point to and criticize. This is not going to help her. This is actually going to hurt her. That's why they don't want her talking about it. We'll play it for you and give you our analysis in a moment. Right now it's 7:21.
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must be serious and have a plan.
That's quite an answer there on tariffs. I don't think she knows what a tariff is. Okay, if tariffs aren't your plan, then talk to me about manufacturing here in America. What's the policy there, Kamala?
Which is more important?
It's most important that we maintain America's ability to have American manufacturing of steel by American workers.
I want to remind you again, they've had the White House 12 of the last 16 years, right? So have they done anything to demonstrate that they can do that? Okay, a little bit more.
For a number of reasons, which includes, again, back to the point of growing our economy and how I think about the economy overall, investing in new industries. There is not a new industry that I can imagine that is not going to require steel manufacturing of steel as a fundamental part of what it accomplishes. And having
the high-tech corridor might have something to say about that. Yeah, we're going to make more cell phones. Let's get the steel in here for that. What is she talking about?
No idea what she...
No,
she has no idea what she's...
She doesn't.
No idea what she's talking about.
You're right.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
a little bit more here. No, don't be.
Workers in an American company manufacturing that steel for those new industries is going to be critically important, not only in terms of our economy, but also in the context of national security.
What in the last 3.5 years has the Biden-Harris administration done in any way whatsoever to encourage more manufacturing and especially things with steel here in the United States? The answer is zero. Nothing.
Zero.
Absolutely nothing. She just said national security. She's empowered China with her policies, our actual enemy when it comes to national security. Listen, we're going to hit this stuff with Katie McFarland at 8:05 and then Joe Concha at 8:35. Right now it's 7:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on this Thursday morning. Coming up at 8:05, KT McFarland will be here, and at 8:35, Joe Concha. I'm Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp. Hey, Mercedes.
Hey, Larry.
Would you call yourself a mom?
Yes.
Would you
Yes,
say that
obviously.
Would you say that you were in favor of liberty?
Yeah, I'm all for liberty. Liberty
you
and
are
moms together. The moms for liberty.
De facto,
Great
you
group.
are a mom for liberty, is what you're telling me.
Yes, 100%.
All right. So is Jaime Brennan. In fact, she heads up the Moms for Liberty chapter in Frederick County. She's also running for Frederick County School Board. That would be brennanforboard.com. And she joins us now. Hey, Jaime, also a Mom for Liberty. I'm surrounded by Moms for Liberty right now. Hey, Jaime.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, listen, we love when right-thinking individuals try to set aside their personal lives and commit to being on a school board, because it's a major commitment and it's a lot of headaches, but it needs to be done. We conservatives have sort of ceded ground on these school boards to left-wing activists, and look what it's gotten us. So tell me about your decision to run for school board and what you're hoping to achieve should you win.
So I ran, for all the same reasons. I felt like our schools were at a tipping point and we needed to make a change. And I kept looking around me and saying, okay, who's going to be the person to run? And then there wasn't anybody stepping up to run. So I said, okay, I'll give it a whirl. I'll step in and see what I can do. And really what I would like to do is make sure that we turn our schools back to a focus on academics, student achievement, workforce readiness, things like our Career and Technology Center,
Which,
making
by the way,
sure that we're
too many of us assume that that's exactly what our school system is focusing on, but they're not. I mean, what is the priority right now, in your opinion, in Frederick County? That if it isn't job preparedness and academics and making sure kids learn what the basics that they need to learn, what are they focusing on instead?
It's a lot of social policy stuff. You hear a lot of kind of left-wing talking points come out of my other candidates and the Board of Education. They say they're focused on student progress and achievement, but then they institute policies or they talk about things that don't advance actual student achievement, end up making excuses for, for instance, our poor performance. Our MCAP scores came out about 2 weeks ago now, and we had a extremely modest increase. Well, Frederick County performed better than the state of Maryland. And so instead of noting the fact that the state of Maryland as a whole performed terribly, we celebrate how much better we are than the additionally terrible scores. You know what I mean? There's no focus on, reality.
There was a meeting just on around September 13th on this these obviously Moms for Liberty being part of this, opposing the school board's policy 443, which, among other things, directs school employees to use students' preferred names and pronouns, and says school employees will keep a student's gender identity private, not disclosing it to the student's parents or guardians unless the child consents to sharing it. I mean, this is purely insane. where our school board has gone. I mean, they're more concerned about the pronouns than they are about making sure our kids can read. I mean, your thoughts on this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it drives me insane. We've been fighting against this policy because, as you said, it allows boys in the girls' locker rooms. It allows boys in the girls' sports teams. And then, that's an extremely small number of kids. But, my concern, too, in addition to all that, is the parental rights aspect. Keeping secrets from, parents about their children is absolutely unacceptable. And we had quite a few activists at the board, demanding they keep this policy. The board's in the process of reviewing all their policies, and they're up to the fours. So they're looking at, all the policies in fours, and this is one of them. And so there's, people really advocating to keep this policy. And this is the kind of policy that got passed in Frederick County with very little oversight, very little public knowledge. It was passed in 2019. And, this is what happens, unfortunately, because we've taken our eye off the ball. But these are the kinds of things our schools are more interested in. They're more interested in, kind of coddling, kind of, addressing these social issues and not on academics and student achievement.
It's worse than coddling. BrennanForBoard.com. I want to make sure I say this a lot so you can get out there and support this, Frederick County. BrennanForBoard.com. Because that policy compels an employee of the Frederick County Public School System to lie to parents. It compels them to keep secrets from parents of a sexual nature. I mean, if somebody proposed, hey, I've got an idea. If a kid gets bad grades, let's make the teachers lie to the parents about those bad grades. Or if a student is absent from class for a week, let's compel teachers to lie about their absence to their own parents so their parents don't know what's going on in their kids' lives. They'd be laughed out of the room. But when it comes to sex, you want a government employee to lie to parents about a secret of a sexual nature? This is diabolical, Jamie. I'm sorry for putting it in such drastic terms, but no adult should be compelled to lie to a parent about their children's sex life.
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely abhorrent. And just now, Harford County had a teacher and an aide arrested because they withheld information of a sexual assault nature. They didn't do the mandatory reporting that they're supposed to do to the state. So we have these instances where our educators are not doing the things that they are supposed to be doing, unfortunately. And policies like this just exacerbate student mental health issues already.
This is too important. Can you stay with us for another segment here, Jamie? I'm sorry, but the fact that this is happening in Frederick County tells me it is happening, or even worse, everywhere around here. And we got to talk about it because you've also found this thing where students are able to be online and keep it a secret from their parents, and Frederick County is empowering that and encouraging it, right? Can we get into the details of that in a moment?
Sure.
Thank you. We're going to stick with Jaime Brennan here, who is running for school board in Frederick County. And all of you in Frederick County need to know what's going on. And the rest, everyone listening to us needs to know what's going on in their school system. So we're going to stay with it in a moment. We continue now. It's 7:48. We continue now with Jaime Brennan. She's the head of Moms for Liberty in Frederick County. She's also running for Frederick County School Board. And, imagine you're a diligent parent. You're trying to do the right thing. You keep an eye on your middle school or high school kids' social media platforms, their access to the internet. You're, checking out their browsers, accountability for your kids to make sure that they don't do anything dangerous or something wrong. And then here's your school system undermining that, allowing them to have private accounts on the internet that are kept from parents. That sounds absolutely unlawful, Jaime, but that's what's happening. Tell me about this. What are the details about this?
So FCPS rolled out this thing called Basecamp, which is put on by a group or supported by a group called Green Space Health. And what it is it's an online mental health web app, basically. And so kids can set up their own accounts because all of our kids have FCPS addresses, email addresses. And now all of our kids have FCPS devices. And so they're encouraging kids to go on to this website. They take this mental health quiz. It's about 20 questions. It asks all sorts of questions, including things like, what do you think about death? At the end of this quiz, it gives you links to 3 resources, third-party, random sources And then it also has a list of all sorts of, 100 resources.
This is even worse. So this is specifically for teenagers. This is specifically for children who are suffering from mental health problems, which is something that a parent should know about immediately. And they're letting these kids go anonymously and privately and keeping it from their parents. I'm so outraged by this.
Oh my gosh! So the first thing, when I first got the got the information about it, my first response was to FCPS was, "How do I opt my kid out? You're not setting an account up for my kid. They're not able to access this thing. I want to block access. What do I do?" And they came back and said, "There's absolutely no way. The parents have no right, no ability to block access to this tool for their children." And so that's why I've been on a rampage trying to get, I want people to know about this because it is completely unacceptable that they're introducing this. It could interfere with therapy the children are already having. It could encourage them to ruminate and could encourage to introduce them to things. I took the test, I was able to go on because there isn't a control on it as far as who can set up an account. So I went on and set up an account, and I answered questions as if I was a 15-year-old girl because I have a 15-year-old girl. And, of course, I answered most of them negative. At the end of my quiz, one of the resources it gave me was a resource directed to parents, an article directed to parents on what to do if their children are cutting. Now, nothing in the questions I answered was about cutting. I never said anything about cutting. I never indicated anything about cutting. But at the end, they gave my daughter, a 15-year-old, an article about cutting. So they basically introduced something to them
that wasn't
that they would not have known about otherwise.
Oh,
but I mean, when you're talking to parents, right, in Frederick County, I mean, are they with you, or do you have these parents that kind of say, "Oh no, let the schools just do the school thing that they need to do, and it's okay"? And I mean, I find this to be this is what you see in communist countries. This is where they try to take the parents out of the decision-making process. They obviously are trying to shape the minds and indoctrinate these children. I mean, who is pushing this? Who's really responsible for pushing all this insanity, like this website, for example?
I don't know. I wanted to find out. I asked for the copy of the contract. I want to find out more about this company. And so, I haven't. We know that there's a huge, there's the thing, the blob, the deep state, whatever there is. There are people out there who absolutely mean ill to our children, unfortunately. But the fact that our schools are going along with this, and when I try to talk to parents and say, look, these are the things that are happening without. If I cannot hand them a piece of paper, and now I do, but they think that I sound crazy to them.
Well, you are you're the sane one. They're nuts, and they're getting between parents and their children, and they're encouraging incredibly destructive behaviors in children. They're doing the opposite of what a school board is supposed to do, and it's absolutely outrageous. This is why Jaime Brennan's running for school board in Frederick County, and I hope this was a wake-up call for everyone out in Frederick who moved out there thinking, oh, well, we don't want to be in crazy Montgomery or Prince George's County or in D.C. We're in nice conservative Frederick County. Look what they've done to your school system. Look what they're trying to do to your kids. BrennanForBoard.com, BrennanForBoard.com. Jaime, keep us updated, please. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I so appreciate it.
It's 7:53.